You are harassing me! You boys are done!
Ma'am, put your hands behind your back.
This is part 4. Let's go. Special Agent Morrison arrived at my house at 7 a.m. the next morning, accompanied by another agent who introduced himself as Agent David Park. They both wore dark suits and serious expressions that told me this wasn't a courtesy call. "Thank you for meeting with us, Captain Carter," Morrison said as we settled in my living room. "I know yesterday was difficult." "That's one way to put it," I replied. Morrison opened her briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. "We've been investigating New Horizon Supervision Services for the past 8 months. Financial irregularities, civil rights violations. Your case and the article published yesterday have given us exactly what we needed to move forward." 8 months? I leaned forward. "You've known about this for 8 months?" "We suspected," Agent Park clarified. "But building a federal case requires solid evidence. The documents you and Ms. Lopez obtained, those internal memos, they're the smoking gun we needed." Morrison spread several photographs across my coffee table. "We believe this conspiracy involves at least 15 police officers, 7 city officials, and multiple corporate executives. The financial trail leads through shell companies in 3 different states." I studied the photos. Raines and Harris were there, along with faces I recognized from city council meetings and police department events. But there were others too. People I'd never suspected. "How deep does this go?" I asked. "Deep enough that we need your help," Morrison said. "You're uniquely positioned. You know the department. You understand the system. And most importantly, you've become the public face of this case. What exactly are you asking me to do?" Agent Park pulled out another document. "We want you to wear a wire, reach out to Lieutenant Harris, tell him you're willing to make a deal, that you'll back off the investigation in exchange for reinstatement." My stomach turned. "You want me to play victim? Act like I'm giving up?" "We want you to gather evidence," Morrison corrected. "Harris is the weak link. He's nervous, sloppy. If you approach him the right way, he'll incriminate himself and others trying to get you to stay quiet." I thought about Harris's betrayal, how he'd used our friendship to gather intelligence, how he'd probably been the one to vandalize my car. "When?" I asked. "Today. The protest at the mall is tomorrow. Everyone involved is on edge right now, Harris especially. He's getting pressure from above to contain this situation." Morrison handed me a small device no bigger than a button. "This is the wire, state of the art. We'll be listening and recording everything. If anything goes wrong, we can have agents there in under 2 minutes." I held the tiny device, feeling its weight. 24 hours ago, I'd been a police captain. Now I was being recruited by the FBI to help take down my own department. "What happens after?" I asked. "After you get your evidence? We make arrests," Agent Park said simply. "Federal charges, civil rights violations, racketeering, wire fraud. The people responsible will face real consequences." "And me? What happens to my career?" Morrison's expression softened. "I can't make promises about the department, but I can tell you that the FBI values integrity. Once this is over, we'd be interested in talking to you about opportunities with us." It wasn't the answer I wanted, but it was honest. "Okay," I said finally. "I'll do it." 2 hours later, I sat in my car outside Lieutenant Harris's house. The wire was secured under my shirt. Morrison and Park were parked 3 houses down in an unmarked van. My phone was on speaker so they could hear everything. I took a deep breath and texted Harris. "Need to talk. At your house. 5 minutes." His response came quickly. "Now isn't a good time. It's important. Please." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "Fine. Make it quick." I walked up to his door, my heart pounding so hard I worried the wire would pick up nothing but my racing pulse. Harris opened the door, looking disheveled. He hadn't shaved. His eyes were bloodshot. "What do you want, Denise?" "Can I come in?" I don't want to talk about this on your front porch. He hesitated, then stepped aside. Inside, his house was a mess. Papers scattered everywhere. Empty coffee cups on every surface. The man was falling apart. "You look terrible, Mark," I said, and I meant it. "Yeah, well, everything's going to hell." He collapsed onto his couch. "Thanks to your crusade." "My crusade?" I sat across from him. I was just trying to clear my name. "You should have let it go." Harris rubbed his face. "You should have taken the suspension quietly. Done your time. Come back when everything blew over." "Is that what you would have done? If it happened to you?" "It wouldn't happen to me," he said bitterly. "Because I know how to play the game." "What game, Mark? Enlightening me?" He looked at me suspiciously. "Why are you really here?" "Because I'm tired," I said. And that part was true. I'm tired of fighting, tired of being alone, tired of watching everything I built get destroyed. I paused. "I want to know what it would take to make this go away." Harris sat up straighter. "You want to make a deal?" "I want my life back, my career, my reputation." I leaned forward. "Tell me what they want, Mark. What would it take?" "They want you to shut up," Harris said bluntly. "Stop talking to the press. Stop working with those activists. Publicly apologize for the accusations. In exchange for reinstatement, full back pay. The suspension disappears from your record." He was getting animated now, seeing a way out. "They'll even throw in a promotion, make you deputy chief within 2 years. And the investigation into Rains? Into the probation scheme?" Harris waved his hand dismissively. "That all goes away. Rains gets transferred to another precinct. The probation company adjusts their procedures. Everybody moves on." "What about the victims? The people who were falsely arrested?" "They took plea deals. Case closed." Harris stood up, pacing now. "Look, Denise, I know this isn't perfect, but it's reality. The system is bigger than you, bigger than both of us. You can't change it. All you can do is survive it. By helping them cover up crimes? By being smart enough to pick your battles." He turned to face me. "You're a good cop, Denise, one of the best. But you're throwing your career away over this. For what? You think anything will really change?" "I think people deserve justice." "Justice?" Harris laughed bitterly. "There's no justice in this system. There's just power. And right now, you're on the wrong side of it." "Who else is involved, Mark?" I asked quietly. "How high does this go?" He studied me carefully. "Why do you want to know?" "Because if I'm going to make a deal, I need to understand what I'm dealing with. Who I need to apologize to. Who I need to make peace with." Harris seemed to buy it. He walked to his desk and pulled out a folder. "This is everyone who needs to sign off on your reinstatement. Everyone who has a stake in making sure this story dies." He handed me the folder. Inside were names, city officials, police department brass, corporate executives from the Greenwood family's companies, and notes about payments, kickbacks, bribes. "This is everything?" I asked, my pulse racing. "Everything that matters." Harris sat back down. "Look, I know you're angry at me. I get it. But I was trying to protect you, trying to show you how the game is played." "By vandalizing my car? Threatening me?" Harris's face went pale. "I didn't vandalize your car, but you knew about it." He didn't answer, which was answer enough. "Who did it, Mark? Who threatened me?" "It doesn't matter. The point is, it matters to me." My voice hardened. "Who?" "Rains and Martinez. They were trying to scare you, make you back off." Harris stood up again, agitated. "Look, they went too far. I told them that. But everyone's under pressure here. The Greenwood family is losing money from the protests. The mayor is facing calls to resign. Things are getting desperate." "So desperate they're willing to attack a police captain?" "So desperate they're willing to do whatever it takes to make this go away." Harris moved closer. That's why you need to take this deal, Denise, before things get worse. Worse how? I don't know. I don't want to know. He looked genuinely frightened now. There are people involved in this who don't play games, people with real power and real resources. If you keep pushing, I can't protect you. I never asked you to protect me. No, you just asked me to help you commit professional suicide. Harris's fear was turning to anger. You think you're a hero? You're not. You're just another person who doesn't understand how the world really works. Maybe I don't want to understand a world that works like this. Harris grabbed the folder from my hands. Get out. This meeting is over. Mark, I said get out. He walked to the door and yanked it open. You had your chance. You blew it. Don't come back. I walked out of his house, my legs shaking. As soon as I reached my car, Morrison's voice came through my phone. Outstanding work, Captain. We got everything. That night, I sat with Carla, Maya, and the FBI agents in my living room, listening to the recording of my conversation with Harris. His voice filled the room, damning himself with every word. This is enough for warrants, Agent Park said. We can move on Harris, Raines, Martinez, and half a dozen others first thing in the morning. What about the protest tomorrow? Maya asked. Should we cancel? No, Morrison said firmly. Let it happen. The more public attention on this case, the harder it will be for anyone to make it disappear. Plus, protests draw out people involved in conspiracies. They get nervous, make mistakes. It's going to be huge, Maya said. We're expecting 10,000 people at least. My phone buzzed with a text from Reverend Green. Media from across the country are coming. This is bigger than we ever imagined. There's something else, Agent Morrison said, pulling out another document. While you were with Harris, we executed search warrants on New Horizons Supervision Services. We found additional evidence, financial records showing payments to a judge, Judge Patricia Harrison. She's been approving these probation deals in exchange for kickbacks. My stomach dropped. A judge. The corruption went all the way to the bench. How many cases? I asked. Over 300 in the past 2 years alone, Agent Park said. All defendants facing charges that originated at or near Greenwood Mall. All pressured into plea deals. All assigned to New Horizons probation program. 300 people. 300 lives disrupted because of greed and racism. What happens to them now? Carla asked. Those 300 people? If their convictions were based on false arrests and coerced by a corrupt judge, they can be overturned, Morrison explained. It'll take time, but they'll get justice. Justice delayed, I muttered. But not denied, Morrison countered. Thanks to you. After the agents left, it was just me, Carla, and Maya sitting in my darkening living room. Tomorrow's going to be intense, Maya said. Are you ready? I don't know, I admitted. A month ago, I was just going shopping. Now I'm at the center of a federal investigation into systematic corruption. It's surreal. You're not at the center, Carla said gently. You're the catalyst. There's a difference. This corruption existed long before you walked into that mall. You just forced everyone to finally see it. She's right, Maya added. You gave people permission to speak up, to demand better. That's powerful. My phone buzzed again. Another text from an unknown number. See you tomorrow. No other context. Just those 3 words. A promise or a threat. I couldn't tell which. I showed it to Carla and Maya. Forward it to the FBI, Carla said immediately. They need to know. I will. I saved the screenshot. But I'm not backing down. Not now. No one expects you to, Maya said. But please be careful tomorrow. Stay close to security. Don't go anywhere alone. After they left, I stood in my living room, looking at my reflection in the dark window. Tomorrow, thousands of people would gather in my name, demanding justice, demanding change. The weight of that responsibility pressed down on my shoulders. But I wasn't carrying it alone anymore. I thought about all the people who'd come forward, all the evidence we'd gathered, all the lives that would be changed when the truth finally came out. Tomorrow wasn't just about me. It was about every person who'd ever been targeted, falsely accused, coerced into a guilty plea, or trapped in a system designed to exploit them. Tomorrow, we'd take our stand. And win or lose, nothing would ever be the same again. Saturday morning dawned clear and bright. I woke early, my stomach churning with nerves. The protest was scheduled for noon, but people had been gathering since sunrise. I turned on the TV to local news. Aerial footage showed the crowd already forming outside Greenwood Mall. Hundreds of people holding signs. Justice for Carter? End police corruption. Black Lives Matter. My phone rang. Reverend Green. Captain, we've got media from CNN, MSNBC, even international outlets. This is bigger than anything we could have imagined. How many people? I asked. Current estimate is 15,000 and climbing. We had to expand the protest area 3 times already. 15,000 people, all because I refused to be silent. Carla arrived at 10 to drive me to the mall. Maya was already there, reporting live for the Herald. The FBI agents would be in the crowd, watching for any signs of trouble. As we approached Greenwood Mall, I saw the massive crowd for the first time. It stretched as far as I could see. A sea of people. Black, white, young, old, all united in demanding justice. "Oh my God," I whispered. "They're here for you," Carla said softly. "For what you represent." The car stopped several blocks away. We'd have to walk the rest. Security escorted us through the crowd. People reached out to touch my hand, to say thank you, to share their own stories of injustice. A young black man grabbed my arm. Raines arrested me 2 years ago. False charges. I lost my job, my apartment, everything. Thank you for fighting back. An elderly white woman pressed a photo into my hands. My grandson. He was killed by police. No justice. No accountability. Keep fighting. Tears streamed down my face as we moved through the crowd. Each story, each face, each life touched by the corruption we were exposing. We reached the main stage where Reverend Green and other coalition leaders waited. The crowd erupted in cheers when they saw me. The sound was deafening, overwhelming. "Justice! Justice! Justice!" The chant shook the very ground beneath my feet. Reverend Green approached the microphone. "Brothers and sisters, thank you for being here today. Your presence sends a powerful message that we will no longer accept systematic racism. We will no longer accept police corruption. We will no longer stay silent." The crowd roared its approval. Today, we have someone very special with us. A woman who stood up when it would have been easier to stay quiet. A woman who refused to let them break her spirit. Please welcome Captain Denise Carter. I stepped to the microphone, my hands shaking. 15,000 faces looked up at me. Phones recording. Cameras broadcasting live to millions more around the world. I opened my mouth to speak, but no words came out. The emotion was too much, the weight of the moment too heavy. Then I saw her, Tiana, the young woman who'd recorded my arrest. She stood in the front row holding a sign that read, "Truth always wins." I found my voice. "My name is Captain Denise Carter," I began, my voice carrying across the crowd. 3 weeks ago, I went shopping for my niece's birthday present. I never imagined that simple act would change my life, would change all of our lives. The crowd was silent now, hanging on every word. I was followed, accused, assaulted, arrested, all because I was a black woman shopping while black. I paused. But this isn't just my story. It's the story of hundreds of people who were targeted by a corrupt system designed to exploit us, to profit from our pain. "That's right!" someone shouted. Others joined in agreement. "We've gathered evidence of a conspiracy between police officers, city officials, and corporate executives. A conspiracy to target black citizens, to pressure them into false guilty pleas, to trap them in a private probation system that bleeds them dry. I held up the folder Harris had given me. I have names. I have proof. And I'm not staying quiet anymore. The crowd exploded. The chant started again, louder this time. Justice! 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 Tomorrow morning, I continued, the FBI will begin making arrests. Officers who abused their power, officials who took bribes, executives who profited from our oppression, they will all face justice. Movement at the edge of the crowd caught my eye. Police in riot gear forming a line. My heart rate spiked. But this isn't over, I said urgently. This is just the beginning. Because corruption doesn't end with a few arrests. Systemic racism doesn't disappear because we expose one conspiracy. Real change requires sustained effort, constant vigilance, all of us working together. The police line moved closer. I could see Rains among them, his face twisted with rage. Agent Morrison's voice came through my earpiece. We see them. Stay calm. Keep talking. They want us to be afraid, I said into the microphone. They want us to back down, to accept injustice as the price of peace. But I'm here to tell you, we will not be afraid anymore. The crowd surged forward, energy crackling through the air like electricity. We will not be silent anymore. No more, the crowd echoed. We will not accept a system that values profit over people. No more. We demand justice. Justice. We demand accountability. Accountability. We demand change. Change now. The riot police stopped their advance. Rains stood frozen, realizing that the game had changed. They were outnumbered, outmatched, and the whole world was watching. Agent Morrison and Agent Park emerged from the crowd, followed by a dozen more FBI agents. They walked directly to Rains. Officer James Rains, Morrison's voice carried across the suddenly quiet crowd. You're under arrest for civil rights violations, conspiracy, and racketeering. The crowd erupted again as Rains was handcuffed. Cameras captured every moment. This was the reckoning we'd been fighting for. More arrests followed. Martinez, 2 other officers, mall security guards, corporate executives who'd been watching from inside the mall. And then the FBI agents approached Lieutenant Mark Harris, who'd been trying to blend into the crowd of police officers. Lieutenant Harris, you're under arrest. Harris's eyes found mine across the crowd. For a moment, I saw fear, regret, then acceptance. As the FBI led him away, I felt no satisfaction, only sadness for what he'd become, for the friendship we'd lost, for the trust he'd betrayed. The protest continued for hours. Speakers shared stories, songs were sung, plans were made for continued action. But the arrests had shifted something. Justice was finally being served. As the sun began to set, I stood with Carla and Maya, watching the crowd slowly disperse. You did it, Maya said, her eyes shining. You actually did it. We did it, I corrected. All of us. My phone buzzed. A text from Deputy Chief Williams. Captain Carter, in light of recent developments, your suspension is lifted effective immediately. Please report to my office Monday morning to discuss your reinstatement. I showed the text to Carla. Are you going to accept? She asked. I looked out at the mall. At the place where this all started. At the people still gathered, still fighting, still believing in change. I don't know, I admitted. The FBI made me an interesting offer. And maybe the department needs new leadership. Not just someone willing to work within the system, but someone willing to tear it down and rebuild it better. Whatever you decide, Carla said, you're not alone anymore. She was right. I wasn't alone. I had allies. I had proof that standing up for what's right could actually make a difference. 3 weeks ago, I was just a police captain going shopping. Now I was something more. A symbol. A catalyst for change. But more than that, I was free. Free from the lies. Free from the corruption. free to choose my own path forward. The sun set over Greenwood Mall, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. A new day was coming. A better day. And for the first time in weeks, I believed it was possible. This is Epilogue. 6 months later, I stood in federal court as Judge Patricia Harrison was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Officer James Raines got 15. Lieutenant Mark Harris received 10 with the possibility of parole for his cooperation. In total, 23 people were convicted on charges ranging from civil rights violations to racketeering. The Greenwood family's companies paid over $50 million in settlements to victims. New Horizon Supervision Services was shut down. The 300 people trapped in their system had their convictions reviewed. Over 200 were overturned entirely. Maya's articles won a Pulitzer Prize. She now runs an investigative team focused on exposing corruption and systemic racism. The Justice Coalition expanded to 15 cities, training communities to document and fight police misconduct. Tiana started a nonprofit teaching young people how to safely record police encounters and advocating for police accountability. And me? I declined reinstatement with the police department. Instead, I accepted a position with the FBI's Civil Rights Division. My first case involved investigating another police department in another city with another pattern of systematic abuse. Because the fight isn't over. It's never over. But now I know that one person standing up can inspire thousands. That truth, no matter how long it takes, eventually comes to light. And that justice, real justice, is worth fighting for. Every single time. My niece Kayla wears the silver butterfly necklace every day. The one I finally bought her from that boutique, under very different circumstances. The manager apologized personally. The staff are all new. Sometimes I drive past Greenwood Mall. It's under new ownership now. The security protocols have been completely revised. There's a plaque near the entrance commemorating the protests, remembering what happened, making sure no one forgets. Because that's the thing about truth. Once it's out there, it's impossible to bury again. I think about that day sometimes. The day I walked into a mall just wanting to buy a birthday present. The day that changed everything. I think about all the people who came before me, who were profiled, arrested, abused, and silenced, whose stories never made headlines, whose videos never went viral, whose courage never sparked a movement. This victory is for them too. For every person who's been judged by the color of their skin. For every person who's been targeted by a corrupt system. For every person who's been told to stay quiet, to accept injustice, to not make waves. This is proof that standing up matters, that speaking out matters, that one voice, speaking truth, can change the world. My name is Captain Denise Carter, and I refuse to be silent. I hope you enjoyed this powerful story about courage, justice, and standing up against systematic oppression. If this story moved you, please share it with your friends and family. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next incredible story. In the meantime, check out these 2 stories I've handpicked just for you. I think you're really going to love them. Remember, the fight for justice never ends, but neither does the courage of those willing to stand up. Until next time, stay strong and keep fighting for what's right.